published last year. Uh, uh, um, Brief background about me. I studied human resources and organizational behavior as my first degree and then completed masters in human resources development. I got MBA, which I focus on international relations. I'm a chartered member of a Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, a governing professional body that governs all HR and organizational development practitioners in the UK and European countries. Um, in terms of where I work, I currently work as the organizational development consultant within the healthcare sector in the United Kingdom. But I've worked in multinational organizations in Nigeria. I work with Nigeria Limited, where I started my earlier career before I move on to African Petroleum in Lagos Broad Street. From there, I got a job with Mobi Producing Nigeria Limited as an HR advisor, HR assistant, before I then moved forward to MTN Nigeria Limited, where I held the position of personal assistant to second personal assistant for the chief executive officer. And then in 2006, I decided to relocate to Republic of Ireland, where I completed my master's in human resources development and also postgraduate in innovation, management, and entrepreneurship. And then, as I said before, I relocated back to the UK a few years ago, where I'm now working as the organizational development consultant within the healthcare sector. Outside of my working life, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and also in terms of I love to develop community, I love to develop individuals, and that led me to writing a book about mentoring. Thank you for having me here again.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for that warm introduction. Just for our viewers to know what we're talking about, this is the book that we're talking about here, Mentorship Makes
Yeah,
Sense.
that's my book. That's my book.
Exactly.
I love to say that. I love to say.
Great. So we'd like to ask, what motivated you to write your book, and what was the defining moment when you decided or you realized that your story should be, yeah, it needed to be in a book?
Okay, thank you for that question. That's actually a very good question. Thought provoking. So what motivated me to write that write book is not I think I can give you about five or six things that motivated me. And the first one is personal experience. You know, is when I say personal experience, I mean that I was profoundly shaped by mentors in my own life. So I've all throughout my career journey, even personal life, I've had mentors that I look for up to, and that they've guided me through critical career or personal transitions. And I wanted to pay that forward. That was one of the things that motivated me, paying it forward to other people, because I believe in when you climb up, you don't just climb and leave yourself there. You need to be able to role model other people. And that is about leadership, authentic leadership. The second thing that motivated me is seeing the gap. I noticed that many people struggle to find effective mentors, especially in the United Kingdom where I am, particularly in our community, the Black community here. They find it struggle because I struggle to get a very good mentors myself. So when I then identify the gap, I then, because people find it difficult to find effective mentor or to become good mentors, even though everyone agrees mentorship is very, very important, I wanted to create something practical and accessible that demystifies the process. And then the third thing that really motivated me was passion for growth and community. I believe growth doesn't happen in isolation. It thrives in connection, if that makes sense. It thrives in connection, in guidance, and shared wisdom. So the book was born from a desire to strengthen those connections. And then the last thing that I will say here on this topic is about professional insight. Through my career and my leadership journey, I saw firsthand how mentorship accelerates my success and build that strong cultures. And I wanted to document the lesson and best practices that make it work. Does that make sense? And then I think if I think carefully, when I was about to write that book, I was also thinking about legacy and impact. And that is really, really important for me because I've seen a lot of people and they ask, What is your purpose? What is your purpose on earth?" I'm a woman of faith as well. And in the Bible, God tells us to identify our purpose because He created us for His purpose, to display, demonstrate His glory. So I wanted the book to leave legacy and impact. I wanted to leave something lasting. You know, I'm here in the UK, but my book is all over the countries. It's in Nigeria. I'm so happy you held a copy of it, you know, and that is leaving something that lasts longer, a resource that helps future generations to build meaningful, mutual, and beneficial mentoring relationship. That was what motivated me. I think the second part of your question, isn't it? If I remember, you did ask about the defining moment. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. And that defining moment is when I move from thinking about writing the book. This book has been long overdue before last year. I've been thinking about it, and something is burning, was burning in my heart at the time, as if I was wasting time. So, when will you write this book, Esther? When will you write it? The nudge kept coming. But when I got to that turning point where I moved from thinking about writing the book to committing to it, when I put it in writing, when I took my pen and I said, I'm going to start writing this book today. And I wrote the introduction and I look at it, I said, wow, I've done it. And that motivated me to write the first chapter, the second chapter. One of the things that really motivated me again, the defining moment for me is that personal reflection point, that I could have a hit in my career. And then when I look back and realize how mentorship shaped every major success or turning point in my life, that reflection became the foundation for the book.
Wow. Thank you so very much. That was a comprehensive answer. Thank you
Absolutely,
for answering
absolutely.
that so well. Yeah, I think I can testify, I can attest to that rather. When she had to first consult, we had the consultation section then. Yes, I
Yeah.
remember these were one of the things that you mentioned in the course of the consultation call back then. Great.
Yeah.
All right, so the next question is, how did you get to hear about PubCode Publishing?
How did I get to hear about PubCode Publishing? I think I had someone then who was helping me to design and develop my website. Okay. And I've been looking at that stage. I think it was a critical moment for me where I was really head hunting for a publisher to help me. And I did approach him one of the days when we were speaking. I said, "Hey, I'm writing a book. Do you know anyone at all?" And I like to support my community. I could have just looked for a publisher here, which I was looking for before. But because I like to grow the business of the individuals back home to support them as well. So when he mentioned your name, and then he gave his words about you, and he said, "This is a very good person, committed, dedicated." I think the review I heard about you really inspired me to want to speak with you. And then he gave me your contact, your email, and then your telephone number. And I got in touch with you, if you remember very well, Bori. The first time I called you, you sounded so convincing. You sounded like a professional, really, which you are. And then that kind of like inspired me, say, wow, you know, I think this person will be able to do the job very well. One of the things that really inspired me to give the business to you at the time is because of the confidence that you demonstrated. I like people who can think ahead, who are quite pragmatic, who are proactive. And you knew exactly, you displayed that experience at the time. All the questions I had, all my fears and anxieties, you were able to resolve that through answering all those questions. That was why I said, okay, I think this is the best person who will be able to do the job for me. And I was never disappointed, you know.
Oh, thank you so very much. I think I can, now that you're saying it now, I can recall those moments and those times. Then, I remember you asking questions. You took your time to ask
Yeah,
questions just to be sure. And I think one thing I
absolutely.
also have to appreciate you for is that, I love when authors are very much involved in their book project. Like they take their own time to make research as well too. So I remember whenever, I give suggestions, then you also say, "Oh, I made research, I got this from my research, this and that." And it makes it like a more collaborative effort. And when the author is more invested in their book project, I mean, it helps the project move forward. Like we're able to achieve the goal of the project itself. And I really appreciate you for that as well too.
Yeah, I think it becomes more authentic and original, when the authors collaborate well with the publisher. You've written your story because it's my story. I know you can write it from the very start, which they call ghost writing, but I didn't want to go via that route. I just felt that because it's my story, and one of my values is what is worth doing at all is worth doing well. So whatsoever I want to do, I need to give it all my best. That was why I was doing my own research, and at the same time you were doing, and I like the collaborative work because in the end it came out very well. All the questions that I asked, all the research you were doing, it was just so fantastic. Thank you for that. Thank you. I cannot even thank you enough. Thank you.
You're most welcome, ma. All right, so that will lead us to the next question. I remember in the course of the project, we had a deadline, and that was to celebrate your 50th birthday at the time.
Yeah,
And so I'd like
yeah.
to ask, how did you feel when you held this book, like your first public book in your hands? How did you feel?
Wow. I felt so delighted. There was I wouldn't say butterfly jumping in my tummy. I would say I want to take it further. Maybe elephant. Elephant was jumping without a loophole, if I can say something like that. Because I said, "Oh, is this my book? Did I really write a book?" You know? And it came with a bit of and it's an achievement, you know. It is a resounding achievement. For me, it's about, with all the conflicting priorities that I was juggling at the time. You know, I have family responsibilities, I have work responsibility. I work 9 to 5 full time. I do a bit of coaching and mentoring by the side. Think about all those things. I was also studying by the side because I was working towards an accreditation program at the time. And also, I was planning for a party. To plan for a party abroad is not a ride in the park, you know. And doing all those things together, I saw myself jumping around like a chicken without head, you know, when you were just jumping around with all these things that I put myself into. But at the end of the day, with dedication, with commitment, I was able to write that book with the support of your company as well, you know. And when I held it in my hand, I was just so happy, so fulfilled. And that really made me to reflect a lot. It was thought provoking for me that I'm living a life of purpose, you know. See, the book is in Nigeria now. The book, one of my friends took it to America. When I went to Canada a few months ago, I took it there. I put it in some bookshop. It is in one of their bookshops there in Canada, you know. And then even after that, I transition, you know, even when that time comes, people will still read that book, you know, anywhere in the world. They will hold it in their hands. They will say, oh, why? And some people will say, oh, it's Esther Sodunke, you know? And they'll say, oh my God, she wrote about mentorship, makes sense. And it adds to the body of knowledge, you know? I saw that book is so different because I didn't just write about theories, you know. That's how unique it was. I wrote about my lived experience and my professional experience in it. And that's why it's so unique. Have I answered your
Yes,
question?
you did. In fact,
Or have I said
I'm
story?
thinking if you have seen my questions ahead of time because you have answered a bit of them, but it's fine
Okay.
anyways.
All
So I
right.
like to ask, because one of the things, aside from sharing our success stories, one of the
Yeah.
things that we would always want our audience to also learn again is that some people actually need to hear that people's story to be encouraged and motivated to go ahead and do theirs as well. So what are the challenges that you encountered in the course of writing or publishing this book, and how did you overcome them? Were there issues like writer's block? Well, I know you've mentioned some of them as regards your schedule and how you're able to manage and prioritize and still be able to have time. So can you just run us through those things? What were the challenges? Were there what if questions? Were there doubts, that you had, and how did you overcome them?
I think, are you there? It seems I've lost you. Are you still there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, you can hear me. I think few of the challenges I encountered, the first one I said was the time management and my schedule at the time. They were just conflicting. But I then asked myself, I think the mitigation to that was that is either I write this book or not. And I got a deadline at the time. I wanted to write it and publish it before my 50th birthday because it was a key part of the celebration on the day. So I had a focus and I had a goal, although it was quite a big one, enormous one, but I was able to break it down into smaller chunks. And I had my objective day in, day out. And I used the power of 15 minutes. Esther, do this for 15 minutes. And when I held myself accountable, 15 minutes then became 1 hour. 1 hour became 2 hours. And I was able to navigate that challenge. I think the other challenge that I got at the time was that my mentor, who mentored me, who came from the majority group, at some point, He didn't want to contribute his own part to the book, and I find that challenging. I had to be chasing them in order for them to now be able to commit themselves. We negotiated in some areas, and at the end of the day, with the influencing and persuasion skills that I used, I was able to pull him to my side, and then he agreed to write a foreword of that book, which I was quite happy about. I'm very, very grateful for doing that, because I want it to be a collaborative approach in that book, because he was my mentor, and I felt that it will carry more weight if he put at least write if even if it is a chapter in that book, which I was able to achieve in the end. I think one of the challenges that another challenge that I encounter was that the mindset that I had of the time, which was the battle from within about why do you want to write book again, Esther? There are so many mentorship book outside there. There are so many mentoring books. Mentorship has been in play for ages, for years, even before I was born. And there are so many books around. So what do you want to write again? But I later find, when I spoke to another mentor, senior colleague of mine, and then when I spoke to you too, you were able to kind of like shifted that my mindset and said, your book is your story. It is about you. And your book will always find its own market. It will speak to some people that even other books have not really reached or spoken to them about. And because you are combining your personal and my professional experience, my live experience, that kind of make my book unique. So I was able to lift myself from that low confidence, that mindset within me that was conflicting with the goal that I had for myself. I think those are the challenges that I went through at the time.
Oh, amazing, amazing. I
Yeah.
like to say that there are people who always give the excuse to say, well, I'm busy, I'm a night fiver, I have this, I have that. And
Yeah.
I'm also happy to hear you say this too. I think that would be the Pomodoro technique where you use 15 minutes, every single time, maybe every single day. And even if it's just a paragraph that you're able to write within that 15 minutes, it's something, right? It's something. I'm glad that you
Yeah,
were.
it is something, and it's getting you closer
Mm,
to your objective rather than
exactly.
me not doing anything. If you look at it, 15 minutes or 20 minutes, we spend it on on social media. More than that, 2 hours, 3 hours browsing through what is not adding value to us. I think one of the things I did at the initial stage when I made up my mind that this book had to be, I had to write it. I don't have a choice. I limit my time on social media. The time I spend on browsing another person's stories, reels, all those things. I said, no, I'm not going there until maybe to just dedicate 30 minutes a day just to check to update myself about valuable information going around rather than spending 2, 3 hours. And that really helped me. That discipline to be able to say, no, this is the focus. This is a priority for me. I really like that. And I've transferred that into other areas of my life too. And for so many people that I now mentor, I said, when they say there's no time, I ask them, what do you do with your time? You got 24 hours in a day. How many hours in a day do you spend on social medias? Could it be you need to cut down that hours and then dedicate more hours into something that matters, and that has really helped them.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, so She mentioned something in the course of our conversation, and that's to say
Yeah.
that when at first she was thinking there are several other books on mentorship, but then her mindset shifted and she realized that her own story, like she can own her own story personally and be able to also add to the body of work that already exists. And I must say that one thing that fascinates me so much about this project is the fact that she wrote from her personal experience, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's not something theoretical at all. This is
Mm.
something from her experience. Like, if you really want to know Esther Sodunke, just get a copy of this book
Yeah.
and get to know more about her career path, how she transitioned, her low moment, how she was able to overcome it, making use of the power of mentorship. You get to read about her mentor as well too from this great book. So I like to ask, in this book, if you were to recommend a chapter or a section or a quote in this book, what chapter would it be for readers who are yet to get a copy of this book? Just tell us the chapter and briefly tell us what it's all about so that we don't get to spill all the tea so they can go and get their own copy as well.
Okay, I think I want to be biased because I wrote all the chapters. All the chapters are really, 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 really important for people to read. But having said that, if I'm advising a potential mentee, okay, I will ask them to go and read chapter two. Chapter two, we talks about unpacking mentoring, the definitions, the origins, and distinctions, and that is chapter two of this book now. This book I'm holding, chapter two of it. That is if I'm talking to a new mentee who just wants to be mentored and doesn't know what mentoring is all about, I will ask them to go and read chapter two of the book. But if I want to advise, if I'm sharing my story, I think before that chapter two, people would like to know who wrote the book, okay? And if I'm recommending, if someone is struggling career-wise, and I want to recommend the book to them, I will ask them, go and read chapter one. We talked about a journey of discovery, my mentorship story. I think that will motivate, inspire the person to consider mentorship as a tool for development, both career wise, professionally, or personally. All right.
Great. So you've heard that. We're not going to share everything in here. There are 7 chapters in the book. So
Yeah.
you should get a copy of this for yourself. This book, Mentorship Makes Sense, is available on Amazon. So you can order this
Yeah.
book from anywhere in the world. And also it's available in Nigeria as well. After this interview session, I'm going to add the link to get a copy. Okay, you can also purchase it on Seller as well too, and also on the author's website as well too. And from
Yeah.
our website, you can also get access to our mentorship and coaching program as well. So I'm going to drop the link to that in the description box of this video. So you go get your copy so that you can get to understand what we're saying here. So, and then for every other person interested, if you're a career person, um, you are a career person, you are interested in, furthering your career, you need mentors, this is a book I'll recommend for you to get. Yes, it's a book I recommend for you to get. So thank you very much for that, Ma. So I'd like to, just before we round up, what advice would you give to someone who has a story in their heart but has not started writing yet?
I think the advice I would give is that don't leave what you can do today till tomorrow because we don't have eternity to live. Every second, and second means when you tap your finger like this, every second, people die. Each individual, if people die, individual die, either individually, collectively, why will you leave what you can do today? Why will you procrastinate? Why will you postpone stuff? Think about the talent God has given you. Put it in writing. Let the people who come behind the generations, let them benefit from the God-given talent. that He has deposited in you. Don't waste it. People want to hear your stories. People want to know you. People want to benefit from the gifts. If you look, the purpose in which God created us is to glorify Himself. And the talent, the book He has deposited in you, the story He has given you, share it with share it with other peoples. Let it
Mm.
change life. Let it transform life. See anyone who is reading my book now, how transformed their mindset, their life will be in terms of looking for mentor to develop their careers or to develop every aspect of their life. And also, you need to remember, as those talents, as those people in the Bible, the parables of the talent, you know, when you're going to give account, you are going to give account of how you use God's talent or how you did not use it. And at the end of the day, what we want to hear is that, my child, you have done well. I gave you this talent. I deposited this in you, and you are not a waster. You have used it. You have gained more. Well done. Well done, my daughter or my son. I think that is really, really impressive to hear, that you don't just come to a world to just live a life. You come to world to make impact. Writing a book is a life of impact, you know, is a life of purpose driven life. Whatsoever be it, if you are so convinced and you are so sure that God has laid a book in your heart, go for it. Don't delay. Look for people who can support you. Look for someone like the PubCode Publishing or publisher who can support you to bring your book to life. Especially in this day of technology, nothing can limit you. Grow your network. Speak to people. We are not, no one is an island. You don't know it. You remember when I was speaking at the very start, I did say that I reach out to another person. I ask question, do you have anyone who can help me? I need to speak to an author. And then I was introduced to PubCode Publishing, which was really, I didn't reach out. Imagine what will have happened. Reach out, make use of the community of people, network, connect with people who can support you to shift mindset and who can challenge your thinking so that that book will come to life. That would be my advice to you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so very much. And so I'd like to ask before we end this session, should we be expecting another book?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I was about to write another book last year to this year because I wanted to launch another book during my birthday in May, but I couldn't because of so many. You remember I mentioned that I'm studying for an accredited program. So that one, um, I wasn't able to write it. But by next year, by the grace of God, I'm looking to write another book about my personal life. That is about my personal life, about what I went through and how I was able to move from that um, low, low area of my life and then overcame it. That would be another influence in another very good book. Yeah, that will help a lot of people, especially women in the community. Yeah.
Wow,
So
thank
be
you.
expecting it.
All
It's going
right,
to
that
be expecting it.
so
And
you heard it first
I
here. So
Yeah,
take note
I'll
of
come
that.
back to you. I'll come back to you. Probably PubCode Publishing. Yeah, be expecting it. It's going to be a trailblazer. It's going to
Mm.
be another immaculate book. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so very much, Mrs. Sodunke. Thank you for honoring our
Thank you.
invite. We're so
Yeah.
glad to have you here. Thank you for sharing with us today. So, for our
Yeah.
audience, please make sure you get a copy of this book. You can order as many copies for your friends. If you are a CEO or you head a business organization, make sure to get it for your employees as well too. They will surely value this. You can get it for your family members. You can get it for your younger siblings. I mean, just try and get it and gift it out to somebody as well too. Thank you so very much for joining us on today's
Yeah.
episode. We
Thank you
really
for having
appreciate
me
you.
here. Thank you for having me here, PubCode, and for as many people that have relocated from Nigeria to the UK, or if you're in Ireland or any country and you need support, you need that push in terms of mentoring, please reach out to me. My website is consult.estershodunke.com. Go via my email, you will see my contact details there. You can also reach us on Facebook, on Instagram, and we will get in touch with you. Thank you very much and see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Take care.